Hi, everybody. It's Elektra Yao, the artist visa lawyer. Happy holidays. We just had Thanksgiving, so I feel like everybody is kind of resting and preparing for the end of the last quarter and the beginning of the next quarter in January. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about chefs. And I don't think that we talk enough about chefs. I'm sure many of you have gone to eat in French restaurants or Italian restaurants. I'm sure a lot of you love Italian pizza, love French pastries, Japanese sushi. I'm sure you love all those types of international foods. But have you ever thought to think about how those foods are made here in the US? A lot of the times there are chefs from abroad who come and open up their own restaurants or who come work for a restaurant. And if they are working here, they are going to need a visa. And the best visa type for a chef or a pastry chef is an O-1 visa. So you might think, well, Electra, O-1 visa is for artists, chefs are cooks, they're in the kitchen. Well, believe it or not, being a chef is artistic. It's artistic in the methodology that's used. It's artistic in the techniques that are employed to create the dish or create the pastry. It's artistic in the presentation, the choosing of the colors, the choosing of the height, the width, the depth of the dish that's being made. So chefs for O-1 purposes are absolutely creative. In fact, to become a chef in the US, you oftentimes go to culinary school, just like an artist would go to a conservatory program or to an art school. There's specialized education that is oftentimes necessary, not all the time, but oftentimes necessary to become a chef. So chefs are absolutely artistic for O-1 purposes. So anytime you go eat French food, Italian food, Neapolitan pizza, anything that is non-American food, or even if it's American food, it could be done by an internationally trained chef. Think of the O-1 visa. Think of the artist visa. I myself have done many, many visas for chefs, including we have done a visa for one of the winners of MasterChef in France. So, as I said, our chefs, pastry chefs for O-1 purposes and for life purposes, I would argue, are absolutely creative individuals. Now, you might be thinking, oh my God, okay, chefs are creative. What goes into the portfolio for a chef? What are the sorts of things that are argued for a chef? And how is a chef different from an actress, for example, or a dancer? Well, in terms of the process, it is the same information that we need for both a chef and both a visual artist, for example. That chef needs to be able to prove that he or she is going to be working here in the US, which means that the chef is going to need contracts, future contracts. Now, a chef does not necessarily need to work in a restaurant. A chef can also serve as a caterer. A chef can also cater for private events, can be a private home chef, or a culinary chef at home for a family. There are different types of employment that qualify for the O-1 visa. This is for chefs, and this is also for other types of professions. Today, I was just telling a client of mine who's a little bit confused about future work. Future work for O-1 purposes can be a private individual, can be a project, can be a company, and also can be an international employer. We have done this multiple times successfully. If there is an international company or employer that wants you, the talent, the beneficiary, to undergo work here on US soil, US territory, then that qualifies as employment for O-1 purposes. So chefs, just like actors, their work is not just principally like creating the dish, right? Like being in the kitchen. A chef is thinking about recipes. A chef is tasting foods and tasting new ingredients. A chef is scouting out different farmers markets to scout out different types of ingredients for a dish. A chef is creating new dishes, just like an artist would create a new painting. A chef is going to create a new dish, and he or she is going to need those tools, right? So tasting food, trying foods, collaborating with other chefs, all of that is considered to be work for O1 purposes. So it's very, very important when you're thinking about, if you're an international chef, if you're thinking about coming here to the US and working, think about your career expansively. Don't just think of yourself in the kitchen. There's a lot of work to be done here in the US for international chefs. Food, as most people know in the US, there's a lot of different types of ethnic foods and international foods. And America is not known for its culinary prowess or expertise. However, America is known for having a lot of different types of foods. And that's because of the international immigrant chefs and pastry chefs that come here to the US and share and disseminate their dishes and create new dishes. So, because it is so expansive here in the US, again, there's a lot that you can do for the O1 visa. You are not necessarily limited to cooking in the kitchen of a restaurant. You can be a private chef. You can be a caterer. You can be an event chef. You can be a chef consultant. So you can actually consult companies on the types of ingredients they can use to create the products that they want to sell here in the US markets or the international markets. So that's a little bit of food for thought, quote unquote, of the different sorts of work that you can do as a chef here located in the US. Now, let's talk about the portfolio. This is a very, very high concept part of the O1 process. So, for example, if you're a chef, what are you going to include in your portfolio? Obviously, or it might not be obvious to some people, but we cannot send the dishes. We cannot send the actual food to the US. I'm sorry for bending, but my computer is about to die, so I'm putting my charger in. But as I said, we cannot send the dishes. So what are the ways that we can communicate to USCIS your expertise as a chef? Well, a lot of people hopefully are taking notes, right? You're taking notes on the different sorts of ingredients you want to incorporate. Or maybe when you're constructing your dish, when you're figuring out the mise en scène of your dish, maybe you're sketching it out. Maybe you're sketching out where you want to put, the protein, where you want to put the carbs, what type of sauce, how you want the sauce to decorate the dish. That might be a sketch. That might be a note. Maybe you've actually created the dish and you're taking a picture and you've taken a picture of it. Maybe your dish is written in the menu of the restaurant that you're working with. Maybe the menu is on the website of the restaurant that you're working with. Or maybe you are a private chef. You're working for a high net worth family or a high net worth individual, and you are required to, for example, lay out your menu for the week. Or maybe you're required to submit your receipts of the ingredients that you've purchased for the dishes that you're about to create. So all of that goes into the portfolio because, as I've said multiple times to my clients and on video, we focus on the process. A lot of people, a lot of attorneys put the final pictures of the art of the beneficiary or the talent that they're representing. And I am a firm believer that that is not enough. Lots of people have beautiful pictures, whether they're applying for the O1 or not applying for the O1. It is not compelling enough. But showing your process, thereby demonstrating the effort that you have put into creating these professional achievements, is what I believe the most successful approach to an O1 petition. So again, we're looking at copies of your recipes. We're looking at photos of the actual dish. We're looking at photos of the menu. We're looking at receipts from the farmers markets, or if you're working with like a bigger supplier, invoices from your suppliers. We're looking at email exchanges between you and your clients as to the sort of food that you need to prepare for the event. We're looking of maybe you are a private chef and you're doing cakes for parties. Maybe you presenting the cake to your client. Maybe Zoom meetings between you and your client discussing the type of cake that needs to be created for the event. WhatsApp messages, text messages, Instagram messages. All those posts or social media posts are very, very important to be included in the profile. Now, just a note on social media. Yesterday, I had a consultation with a filmmaker, and out of all of the filmmakers that I worked on, this filmmaker in particular had an excellent social media, in the sense that very, very large number of followings and very, very large number of viral videos. So if you are out there, if you are a filmmaker, if you are a chef, if you are a tattoo artist, and you're unsure about how to improve your professional profile, you should think about dedicating yourself to social media and showcasing your expertise and your artistry to people around the world. Social media is a window, is an avenue, is a conduit to allow you to disseminate your work to extremely large numbers of people. Obviously, at the beginning, the numbers are not going to be high. Don't get discouraged. Continue, because it just takes one viral video to be used within your petition. So, as I said, we were talking about the different sorts of employment. So, for chefs, there's a myriad, there's a lot of different types of work that you can do here in the US, particularly so because the US, in terms of its culinary structure, is reliant on international chefs and pastry chefs, because American food is not, America is just not known for its food. It's known for its international ethnic food, its diversity within food. So again, lots of work for international chefs and pastry chefs to do. Number two, we talked about the portfolio, where we're focusing on your process and on your effort of creating the dishes. So we're looking at menus, we're looking at recipes, we're looking at receipts from purchasing your ingredients, we're looking at pictures of your dishes, we're looking at your social media where you're showing people, for example, how to cook or how to create a dish. We're looking at your sketches of your dish composition, how you're composing your dish and presenting it to the restaurant or to your clients. Those are probably the most important things to focus on when you're working on your O-1B artist visa as a chef. I think that chefs, as I said multiple times, they're not discussed a lot in the artist visa world. I think a lot of people tend to think of the artist visa as a visa for very traditional artists, whereas it is not. I would argue that the O-1 visa is a great visa for any sort of professionalism that can be described as artistic, which is why in our firm, we do architects and marketing professionals as artists instead of business professionals. So if there is a way for us to argue that you have utilized creativity and artistry within the work that you're doing, then you may potentially have a space in the O-1B, the artist visa world. So for chefs, as I said, don't shy away from exploring a career, an international culinary career here in the US. Food is very highly valued, in the sense that international chefs are highly coveted, and there's lots of different work that can be done, and it is not impossible to construct a very strong portfolio for O-1B purposes. Therefore, as I said, I really encourage you to think out of the box when it comes to the O-1 visa and the different sorts of professions that fall under the O-1 visa. As I've said several times in past videos, chefs, tattoo artists, nail techs, permanent makeup artists, hairstylists. We just recently got a green card approved in less than 10 days for a hairstylist without an RFE. This is an EB1A self-petition green card. Now this person and this person's family can stay in the US permanently with their green card. So really think about these non-traditional artists. I work very, very closely with them, and I'm happy to help. So the thesis for today is, can a chef get an O-1B visa? Absolutely. A chef can get an O-1 visa. There's a diversity of work for a chef to do in the US, and the portfolio can be expertly constructed to satisfy the O-1B requirements. So if you are interested in pursuing an O-1B visa and you're a chef, please don't hesitate to call our office. Yesterday, we sent out our mastermind for artists. So if you're interested in developing your professional profile, if you're interested in learning how to develop a niche area for your O-1 visa or for your EB1A artist green card, please reply to our email for our artist mastermind. We only have a couple of spots left, and we'd be happy to work with you to develop your niche artistry. So thank you so much for watching, and we will be back to continue to talk about these niche areas of art for the O-1 visa. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.